Hey Cubs fans, welcome to the Cubs IV YouTube channel. Just starting out, so forgive me for any kind of lack of flash or fancy videos. Just learning all the tools right now, but still want to cover the up-to-date things going on with the Chicago Cubs. Today I wanted to talk about a couple things, specifically third base. Third base so far. So, a couple comments about Bregman, a couple comments about Nolan Arenado, and obviously covering Matt Shaw and his current situation. Then want to go over our normal segment of brown or green. Is it alive or is it dying on the vine? So to get started, of course, everybody has heard the news of Alex Bregman signing with the Boston Red Sox for 3 years for $40 million a year, with obviously an opt-out of each year that passes by. The disappointing thing for the Cubs is obviously we didn't get Bregman. That's a proven bat, probably fitting in somewhere around the 2-hole, and obviously somebody who's an all-star Gold Glover third baseman. We have options at third base, but plugging Bregman in, especially this year when we're, bringing in the likes of Kyle Tucker, we've got the foundation already, theoretically up the middle with Swanson and Nico Horner. We've got the young Michael Busch at first, and then our outfield is potentially 3 Gold Glovers. And to add another one that's pretty much an automatic, has a proven history at third base, would have been a fantastic add. I realize it didn't work out for the Cubs. I realize we, probably offered a little bit longer deal for the same amount of money, but for spread over the course of maybe 4 or 5 years versus 3. At least it shows we have the ability to spend the money. All the theories of Rickett and Jed Hoyer and who's to blame, who's pulling the strings, who's approving the money. We're going to see that as soon as Kyle Tucker, if Hoyer lasts that long, we're going to see who's really able to, who's approving and who's really pushing the envelope when it comes to spending that money, when it comes to hopefully signing Kyle Tucker to a long-year deal after this season, but that's something to talk about in the future. But, the fact that we didn't get Bregman is what it is. We're still projected to win the NL Central. We still have, the top prospect in Matt Shaw sitting there at third base. And, the miss on Bregman is unfortunate. Obviously, all Cubs fans, I hope, would have loved to have Bregman a part of a team, but he chose the Red Sox and thought, I'm not sure that they're in a position to win quicker than the Chicago Cubs, especially with Bregman in that lineup. But, is what it is, and we'll move on. Exciting that we were a part of the opportunity. Bummed that we didn't come close, it seems like, to what Bregman was looking for, but, is what it is. Wish Bregman all the luck, but probably could have had a more successful season, I would think, on the Chicago Cubs. So third base, we've got some options, right? There's not big news, but there's rumors of Nolan Arenado. Kind of want to talk about that just for a couple minutes. Nolan Arenado, obviously he and the St. Louis Cardinals have been not at war, but they don't like each other at this point. Arenado wants out. The Cardinals want to give him an out, but they are kind of stuck. He's got the control. Arenado's got the control where he goes. And they owe him something along the lines of, I think, $73 million over the next 3 years, and then deferred payments over the next decade. The Cardinals are they have an impossible position to push that over to some other team. So the Cubs obviously have been in the rumor mill, picking up as trade possibility for Arenado. I don't see that happening, because how in the world we'd have to give up, prospects, and we've been giving up a number of them just for the Kyle Tucker and some of the other trades that we've done. So we've got the youth there to maybe make it attractive, but Cubs are cheap, at least historically, and we're not going to sign an Arenado for the money we were looking to give Bregman. Now, if the Cardinals came to us desperate and said, "Hey, man, like he's making, help us out with 10 million a year for the next 3 years, and we'll cover the rest and the deferred payments." I mean, maybe the Cubs, maybe the Cubs take a bite because then again, you have an automatic defensive Gold Glover, and our pitching staff, as they are right now, we're not blowing the ball by everybody. They're not having gigantic strikeout rates. We're put the ball in play defense type of roster. So having a automatic Gold Glover at third base, his offensive production has been down over the past few years, but I can only imagine he'd equate to someone like a Matt Shaw with the bat, and defensively he's an automatic, not having to be proven Gold Glove opportunity. So, it'd have to be something that the Cubs couldn't pass up. Cheap all-star third base for a couple years, and maybe let the Matt Shaw develop behind him, maybe as a utility, or who knows, even second base, moving Nico somewhere else, or if Nico's surgery turns out to be more of a recovery than expected. But as far as Arenado goes, it's a possibility. I'm sure they've talked, but it's the St. Louis Cardinals. It's a rivalry of a Central. Too much money to be involved. Not likely that they're coming to talk to the Cubs and willing to make them a super deal just to get Arenado off of their roster during their rebuilding seasons. So Matt Shaw's it right now. He's obviously dealing with some sort of oblique issue. They announced that, I believe, last Friday. It's kind of declined in how serious they talk about it the last few days. But, anybody who's been around sports, especially like a defensive player, an offensive swinging bat, that oblique area is, vital to your torque, to control, to your power. And if there's any twinge at all, that's going to throw everything else off. Not only you potentially looking at other injuries because you're trying to compensate for that, but your swing is not going to be the same. Your throw is not going to be the same. Agility, all of the above is not going to be the same. So, Matt Shaw's young. I'm sure he'll heal quickly. It's just hopefully, for the Cubs, it's not a recurring issue. We've had those things with Seiya, was that last year, and I can't remember who else, but there was somebody else who had the similar type of issue, and it's just lingering and nagging. So hopefully he's getting the rest he needs, the recovery he needs, and it'd be fantastic if he was back to full health by Thursday, Friday, when those games against the Dodgers start for the preseason, for spring training. But oblique issues aren't anything to mess around with as far as 90% heal, 80% heal. Now make sure it's 100% because you're going to want to go all out, and that torque on that area is just going to re-aggravate, whether it's now or a few weeks from now. And to have Matt Shaw healthy by season at this point, we kind of need him to be, right? So he is the Craig Counsell's basically even said it. He's the guy at third right now. He's the one that's projected to start at third. We do have other options, behind him, Birdie and a couple of Workman and a couple others on the bench that could fill that spot. But he's the one that's projected. We're trying to give that, we're trying to give that runway for Matt Shaw so that he can develop hitting the 8-hole, get used to the majors, play third base, and just be as best as you can and solid as you can defensively. Look, last year we were talking about Morel, right? Morel was an exciting player as far as the bat goes, potential as far as the bat goes, but oh my gosh, was he horrific at third. It was frustrating watching. It was ugly watching him at third base. It was painful at times. I've played and coached baseball for years, and he's at the major league level, starting at third base and making 2 errors, 1 error, 3 errors, in a week, and that just doesn't it just can't happen on a professional baseball team. So, needless to say, if we're comparing Matt Shaw's potential and Morel's potential, yeah, Morel can mash the ball sometimes. He'd get on a streak. He'd also strike out a ton. But, Matt Shaw is projected to be like a 260 something hitter, 17-ish home runs, so, and if he's batting at the 8 hole and that's his production and he's playing solid defense, we'll take it. He's a rookie. We're looking for him to develop and grow. And if by the midway to the end of the season, he's a contributor with the bat and he's making minimal mistakes and making plays on defense, then sign us up, right? We're not looking for him to carry a team. We're looking for him to be a piece and part of a solution, and not a liability at third base, but somebody who's actually contributing to winning games or preventative from a defensive standpoint. So excited about Matt Shaw. Hopefully he's healthy by the end of this week. And, we're never talking about his injuries again. We're only kind of talking about his development. All right. So the last time we were on, we've done a segment called Green or Brown. So this channel's called the Cubs Ivy. So is the ivy turning green and is it optimistic, or is it turning brown and dying on the vine? I think two things I want to go over is Arenado and the possibilities of the Cubs signing him. I think that's brown. I think that's dying on the vine. I don't think, while it'd be exciting to have Arenado from a defensive standpoint, I don't think it's a fit for the Cubs, and I think that's going to die on the vine pretty quickly, and we're going to see that in the next few days, maybe week, with no more news as it relates to Arenado and the Cubs. And financially, there's no possible way that the Cardinals come to us and give us something attractive enough to where they're going to carry the load financially. We want to have money going into the budget, going into the June-July timeframe, where the trade deadline's coming, and we're evaluating whether how far we're thinking we're going to go in the playoffs, and we can get that extra arm or that extra bat, whatever it is it's a piece by that time that is going to help elevate us to the next level for those next few months to make a run, not just the playoffs, but beyond, making the playoffs, but beyond. And we're going to want to have that budget for that, because right now we're relying on some youth. And is it all going to work out? Maybe not. But Arenado, I don't think is going to fit anyway in that role, because that would require too much money from our standpoint. There's no way the Cardinals will. There's no way the Cardinals will provide attractive enough offer for us to take him. We'd have to basically be given Arenado, and I'm sure we'd take it, but it's not going to happen. The other thing is, I think Shaw, I don't know if it's Fangraphs or what the thing is I was reading through last night, but Shaw is projected to play 125 games. So at third, Matt Shaw. So I'm saying green or brown. I'm saying Matt Shaw goes over 125 games. I think that's green. I think that's growing. I think the vine is lively and flourishing, because I say he gets healthy. I say he plays. He's a converted shortstop, right? He played at Maryland, high level shortstop. That's why we drafted him. He's doing fantastic. He did fantastic on defense in the minors. And I firmly believe shortstops that convert to third or second base have a much shorter learning curve than others converting to those positions, or like a second baseman to those, or a third to short to second. That shortstop is used to being athletic. The range is there. The arm is there. He might have to get used to fielding the ball slightly quicker because obviously he's closer to home plate, the hot corner. But I think he's going to convert fine. And by quarter through the season, third through the season, we're going to see a defensive player that we're all happy with. The offensive side, may be slow. He's going to have he might get to having some exciting times, but he's going to be batting, what, eighth-ish? So, come in clutch a few times, get on base a few times to the top of the order. We're not expecting much more of you. You're not the one who's offensively driving this team, but some production would be obviously nice. So I think he locks it in. I think he's our third baseman this year. Obviously, he'll get breaks, and we'll see some rotation there with Birdie and maybe Workman. But I think Matt Shaw, that's definitely green and going to go over that 125 games. So, and I didn't mention it this last video, and I don't mention this one yet, but getting used to all this video and talking on camera and YouTube. I'd love at this point, if you can, like the video, subscribe. The channel's only going to grow from this point on, and I'd love to make sure, and especially as the season goes on, we'll have more to cover. Not just theoretical stories, but actual news where the Cubs are, winning, losing, struggles, successes, player injuries, hopes, dreams, exciting times are coming. So looking forward to adding that stuff to the channel. So if you don't mind subscribing, really appreciate that, to the Cubs Ivy, and liking the video. And I haven't had a comment yet, so I'd love for someone to be that first comment. But Cubs Ivy, this is Brad Savage covering some of the Chicago news, and go Cubs go.